What's going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a great day, wherever you're at, whenever you have the time to be watching this video. We're going to be jumping into some more of the wonderful world that is the SCP universe here with the Vulcan. We're going to be checking out SCP-5462. Misery is the state of every soul burdened by mortality. Euclid class, Alagadda SCP. So we're going to be getting into more Alagadda, Hang King stuff, which I'm all about. I'm all about the Hang King lore and learning about Alagadda. So, links as always will be down below in the description to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to the Vulcan's channel. Please do me a favor. If you like this video as we go through it, go over there and click that link, give him a sub, or give him a like. You can also give him a sub if you're not subbed to him. So, yeah, if you're not subbed to the Vulcan, do me a favor. Go over there and give him a sub. Definitely deserves it. He makes a lot of great content, puts a lot of effort into his videos, and he definitely deserves the support. If you'd like to join us when we do these reactions live, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the various YouTube tiers and benefits that I offer. So if you've been around the channel for a while, want to take your support to the next level, take a look at those and see if you would have any kind of interest. But with all that said, let's jump into this. SCP-5462, Misery, the state of every soul burdened by mortality. Euclid Alagadda SCP. Bam. It's a little quiet. Turn us up a little bit more. Looking forward to seeing what we learn more about.
Good afternoon,
here.
everyone.
We're back here with Dr. Miller.
My name is Dr. Miller,
Gotcha.
and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-5462. Containment class, Euclid. Disruption class, Vlam. And risk class, Notice. Special containment procedures. SCP-5462-A has been placed in Site-21's Media Archive Wing. Foundation assets in art institutions and auction houses have been placed on alert for a Goya painting matching SCP-5462-B's.
This is one of the paintings that had been mentioned in one of the other SCPs that I had looked at. There's various art, there's paintings, there's statues, there's books, there's an actual play. All these some kind of connection to the Hang King and Alagadda. So this is one of the paintings. Okay.
Facts. Description. In art institutions and auction houses have been placed on alert for a Goya painting matching SCP-5462-B's effects. Description. SCP-5462-A is the journal of Spanish painter Francisco Goya, detailing an anomalous event that resulted in the creation of 15 oil paintings painted between 1819 and 1822, commonly referred to as his black paintings due to their emotionally disturbing contents, themes, and use of dark colors. The paintings were painted onto the walls of his villa in his country estate on the outskirts of Madrid, nicknamed
So they were just painted straight on the walls?
the Quinta del Sordo, House of the Deaf Man, named after previous deaf inhabitant and not after Goya, contrary to popular belief. While all 14 paintings at the Prado Museum in Madrid have been confirmed as non-anomalous, the journal describes a 15th unconfirmed painting.
So wait, so the paintings were painted onto the walls of his villa. So what, did they just like bust down the walls of his villa and move them to a museum, I guess?
While most scholars point to Heads in a Landscape as the 15th black painting, an examination by Foundation archivists reveals it was not painted in the same period as the others. Designated SCP-5462-B, that has been described as having significant anomalous properties.
So it's unknown.
The status of SCP-5462-B is unknown. Addendum 5462-1. Truncated biography of Francisco Goya. Francisco Goya, 30th of March 1746 to 16th of April 1828. Has been considered as one of the most popular Spanish painters of his time. Born to a lower-class family in Aragon, he was interested in art from an early age. Goya studied under Spanish Baroque painter José Lozán at the age of 14, copying stamps for 4 years. He would eventually grow tired of this, moving to Madrid to study under Anton Raphael Mengs.
Yeah, copying stamps would probably get a little old after a while, especially if aspirations of being, you know, a renowned painter.
And then later to Rome, which was considered the cultural capital of the world at the time. His career only seemed to grow at this point, receiving awards, royal commissions, and an appointment to a position as a member of the Royal Academy of Fine Art. Goya's career appeared to reach
Man has a hell of a beans too. You know, Goya beans.
new heights when he was commissioned to paint the portrait of the Count of Florida Blanca in 1783, becoming introduced to the royal court. Only 3 years later, Goya would become a painter in service to King Charles III, later becoming the first court painter under Charles IV. Somewhere between 1792 and 1793, Goya fell prey to an illness that left him deaf. He grew more withdrawn and insular, with his works shifting to a darker tone, such as his Capriccios prints, which he described as the innumerable foibles and follies to be found in any civilized society, and from the common prejudices and deceitful practices which custom, ignorance, or self-interest have made usual. Goya complained of loud noises within his head, as well as poor vision and balance.
I wonder if whatever illness he had was actually some kind of infection from like Alagadda or some kind of connection to that has interfered with him, you know? It wasn't actually like some kind of normal disease or illness. Because it obviously seems to, I mean, things like that can happen and change a person's, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? View on life, I guess. Demeanor. I don't know what the word, but that's essentially what I mean. The view on life. So like, obviously they can change how they view things and they'll paint that outwardly, but anyway,
historians have speculated on the cause of the illness, with most suspecting a case of Meniere's disease, or lead poisoning resulting from a lifetime of creating his own paints. The invasion of Spain by France.
Yep. You know, that is true. Didn't really know about the effects of lead and stuff like that back then, so when you're using paints like that, that would be a problem. Same thing with like mercury. You know, that has a lot of toxic effects on the body.
In 1808, and expecting a case of Meniere's disease, or lead poisoning resulting from a lifetime of creating his own paints. The invasion of Spain by France in 1808 and the death of his wife in 1812 did little to alleviate his mood. Once one of the most famous painters of his time, Goya retreated to a life of solitude in the Madrid countryside, possibly due in part to fear of political reprisals, where he created his infamous black paintings. In 2004, the Foundation came into the possession of Goya's journal, detailing a series of events that had occurred at Quinta del Sordo. The journal had been sold at a Marshall Carter and Dark auction as the recollection of Goya's brush with the anomalous, initially appraised at 1 million euros.
I mean, the fact that it's being sold at a Marshall Carter and Dark, you know, auction, that in and of itself, you know, would tend to lead you to believe that there's definitely some more anomalous stuff happening with this person.
Goya's brush with the anomalous, initially appraised at 1 million euros. Several bids from unidentified members of the audience drew attention, leading the embedded Foundation plant to purchase the journal for 3 million euros.
Damn, Marshall Carter
Addendum
and Dark grabbed the money.
5462-2, SCP-5462-A excerpt. I dreamed that I was young. I was on the road to Rome. 60 years between then and now faded away like a nightmare, and all that remained were sunny skies and laughs of joy. The road behind us and in front of us stretched on forever into an indistinct pathway of bliss. And then I woke in this decrepit, aging form, where my hearing has vanished and my vision blurs into an indistinct chaos beyond barely a league. If my younger self from scant 50 years ago were to gaze upon me now, he would label me a corpse.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what lead poisoning does to you, right? So...
Even now, I'm tired of writing, and the sun has barely sunk below the horizon. A new day shall arise tomorrow. Perhaps I will pick up my brushes again. I can find some small comfort in them, at least. I write this last entry in bed, where I have been sequestered for a cold after a series of unfortunate events. I attempted to paint again today.
Always after a series of unfortunate events.
Restore my spirits to do so, helping me purchase some canvas and supplies. and setting a well-cushioned chair in the countryside. I had the image of the hills and the rising sun clear in my mind, and yet every time I held my brush, every time I intended to change the ephemeral to a lasting image, it twisted out of my head and vanished, leaving me staring at a blank canvas like a simpleton. I attempted to paint the rising sun and the noonday sun and the setting sun over and over again until I was sitting in darkness attempting to paint the rising moon. I wasn't even aware that the rain had broken until Leocadia came running in a frenzy to hurry me inside. I may not be able to paint until I return to full health, but at least I can make a few sketches to pass the time. Hopefully this cold is over soon.
Like, how much would that suck? Like, your entire skill set that you've built up in life, you've been a painter, an artist your entire life. That's what you know. That's what you pride yourself on, etc., etc. You made a career out of it. And not only, you know, a career, but like an extremely notable one. You have royalty hiring you, commissioning you to do things, working for them, etc. And then, like, yeah, you get to a point where you can't even like do the thing you love anymore. Like, that's a shitty existence, man.
Damn this cold. It's not the first time I have fallen prey to it, nor the first time since my deafness. But something about this instance of the malady is different. Just to stay awake long enough to write these words feels like a titanic struggle. There is a particular queerness surrounding my mind. While I remain sitting in my bed in the light of the afternoon sun, my mind feels far away from the hands writing these words. I feel as if the walls of this little bedroom have crumbled to dust.
So it's like he is, being pulled into Alagadda or something like that.
And I stand on a vast plain. I have not been transported to some fanciful illusion, a method of Loci, but I am only seeing what has always been there. The plains and the unnameable things lurking in its shadows that have been present for all of mankind's past, separated by only the thinnest of veils. Today the veil was lifted from my soul, and I can see farther than any man ever could.
You know, I think, if I remember correctly, supposedly, you know, I guess it depends on the SCP canon. I don't know if it's like, there isn't really an official canon, I guess, so I guess it depends on, you know, what kind of canon you subscribe to. But to my understanding, in some instances, Alagadda was a real place, supposedly somewhere in you know, Italy or in that kind of region of the world, the Mediterranean region. And, you know, in the SCP universe, it may have existed at one point in time, and then for whatever reason, somehow, you know, became erased, you know, may have been moved to its own demi-plane because of the Hanged King and the actions, you know, that happened, etc., etc. So I wonder if it's like, this is a situation with him where his illness is allowing him to kind of like, I guess, see through the veil of what he's at. Like, you know, the idea that maybe where he lives currently is where Alagadda used to be, you know? And so his illness is allowing him to see things that are in this other plane of existence, kind of a situation. I wonder if that's what's going on, or if it's just, you know, the ambassador or whoever is just like calling to him.
There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy, after all. But what of these places beyond them? This is no ordinary illness, I fear. The strangest thoughts, the thoughts roaming those murky plains of beyond, that was their door. And I now see things that I should not. I had the strangest dream last night, where I was standing on a cliffside. I looked up and saw light, a foreign, alien light, the type that cleansed Sodom and Gomorrah and any impurity it saw fit to remove. I looked down and saw void and abyssal darkness from out of the lowest levels of this world.
And I remember something about that too. Like, there's something about Alagadda with like different levels of like existence to it. I I gotta watch that SCP article again. Yeah. Anyway, let's just continue. My brain is just processing things.
Clawing its way higher and higher, and consuming all it passed. I felt paralyzed to move. I knew I was witnessing something beyond my little world of art. What would reach me first? Purifying light or all-consuming darkness? Both were a hand's breadth away from my refuge before I awoke. I am not sure what meaning I should take away from it, if any, but I shall continue to record my experiences. There is little else to do while I remain tethered to my bed, praying for this sickness to end swiftly. It seems praying has not worked in ceasing this. Instead, my thoughts have been turned into a different direction. Last night I dreamt a city all of blood, with towers made of bone, where blood ran in the streets like water. Men and women danced through the streets, laughing and kissing and praying and playing, and all while the blood splattered their ignorant faces. There were no children in this city. There were never children.
In Alagadda.
Where were the children? I returned to the city again, standing below a gateway. I had no desire to see those disgusting sights of those cavorting among the blood, and so I turned away, back to those strange and fantastical plains. I could see things, impossible things stalking me, watching me, offering an outstretched hand while whispering all of the things that they could offer. But there was a stronger voice beckoning to me from beyond, and those impossible things fell by the wayside.
Interesting. So yeah, it's like something is calling to him. I wonder if it is in fact just Hang King.
I saw a shining city on a hill, and I knew that it was Alagadda. There are more things in Alagadda than are dreamt of on Earth. There are more things in Alagadda than are dreamt of on Earth.
Now he's going crazy.
There are more things in Alagadda than are dreamt of on Earth. There are more things in Alagadda than are dreamt of on Earth. There are more things in Alagadda than are dreamt of on Earth. After this last entry, Goya ceased to write complete entries for approximately 3 weeks. The 27 pages following his last entry were marked with illegible writing, alchemical symbols, and quotes from Christopher Marlowe's The Hanged King's Tragedy.
Huh. So then he starts quoting the Hanged King's Tragedy play, and also writing down alchemical symbols. I wonder, obviously, what those alchemical symbols mean, if they have any meaning, purpose, etc. You know, it sounds like he's almost kind of starting to become like a vessel of Alagadda or the Hanged King by, you know, I assume that he's going to then start making these anomalous paintings that could lead to things in Alagadda, things like that from here forward. So it's almost like, yeah, he was called by the Hanged King or some other kind of entity in Alagadda, and they showed him, you know, something or possessed him, and now he's, you know, maybe he's joined whatever that, you know, pact is. Who knows?
It is good to be on my feet again.
And now all of a sudden he's clear of this malady that he had.
Able to walk outside in the fresh Castile air after this lengthy illness. A lesson I learned sitting outside in the pouring rain is not a mistake I will be making again, nor will Alagadda allow me to. Now that my mind is clear of that dreadful fog, I have been able to turn it towards painting. We may not have had much escudos left for canvas, but the walls served as a passable substitute. Leo seems to have enjoyed watching me paint the pastoral murals.
Leo, huh?
There is a certain tranquility, a certain strength of spirit present in them that portraits of kings and nobles lack with their distant and regal gazes. It's rather nourishing to create. I should remember to write in this more often. It is rather odd that I left this blank for 3 weeks.
So he can't even, like, he can't even like decipher that he did anything in those pages for the last 3 weeks. He's looking at it and it seems to be blank. Interesting.
Is this some sort of divine jest? Has God not been satisfied with my wife, and my hearing, and my work? I thought I would be able to hold on to my sight, or at least what precious little remains of it, but it seems he is determined to steal it away too. I can see now that these putrid, disgusting little peasants are nothing more than moldy globules of paint on a wall that's quickly crumbling away. How could Leocada think to allow me to start such a foolish project? How can I allow myself? I must start again. This may be the last work I ever achieve. Nothing. What has happened to me? It is as if there is a hole in my head, and all my ideas, all the creativity that made me director of the Royal Academy and the court painter to Charles IV has simply trickled down the side of my head and dissipated into nothing. I could not paint a shadow to save my life today. Perhaps this is it. Perhaps my life is truly over, and there is nothing left for me to do but lay down and wait for God to take me.
So, like, I wonder if it is a situation where, like, he's trying to paint something and whatever this presence is from Alagadda is denying him. It's like taking it away because it wants him to do something else. And maybe he needs to go, like, further into this madness so that he can paint what they want him to, or what is it, you know? Because if he's free from whatever that malady was, what is it that's keeping him essentially from being able to paint before, you know? Maybe it's a side effect of, you know, quote unquote, the lead poisoning that he might have had, but I feel like obviously it has something more to do with everything he saw, and he definitely seems to have delved pretty deep into Alagadda and got attached to something big there, and it seems to have a purpose for him.
My head is aching intensely. I need to rest. I saw them. Every painting I've ever created, every childhood mash of colors, every saint and king and noble and angel and fair lady that ever sprang from my mind.
So it's like, yeah, he's able to like see what he wants. It's interesting. He's able to see and imagine the painting that he wants to create. But as soon as he starts to actually do it, it disappears. So that in and of itself has to be maddening. And maybe that's part of something he agreed to. Maybe when he was in Alagadda, he agreed to some kind of pact to remove this sickness. And in return, it takes his creativity or something. You know, I don't know.
They were as clear as day before me. They mocked me, scorned me. I was Kronos, the decrepit, feeble, backwards relic, and they were the Olympians, deathless, terrible, and beautiful. They had sprung from me, true, but they no longer had need of me, and resisted my pleadings. But even Kronos' generation and his parents, the earth and the sky, came from somewhere else, older, darker places, which you dared not name for fear that they would hear you. And it rose up behind me, in all its terrible glory. I could not turn to face it, for I knew that it would annihilate me like Zeus to Semel. But I could sense its presence, and see the gods turn from mockery to fear. Now they begged me to save them, to take them back and continue my great artwork. They were erased, annihilated, like the stars torn from the heavens themselves, and up from the soil, back up my head to the hole in the side of it, something else came to fill in the void.
Interesting. He keeps mentioning like this hole in his head, and the Hanged King has been depicted as like a godlike hole or void, right? That's kind of the only description we've ever really gotten from the Hanged King. So I wonder what that means. Is it a situation where, like, is this guy, like, becoming a vessel of the Hanged King? Is he somehow, like, the Hanged King trying to take over his body and the you know, the physical dimension, universe, whatever, you know. I don't know, but it's just interesting that that kind of symbolism of this like hole or void is coming up here as well.
I can no longer tell if I'm awake or dreaming. It came today. All these months at Sordo, all this maddening solitary, the sheer decades I have spent watching my life erode into nothingness. It has come to this. It has come to Alagadda. It slipped out of my head and onto my own personal canvas.
So he is able to paint of Alagadda.
Made manifest. It spoke to me of all the sweetest words I have ever known. I feel as if I have been reunited with a dear old friend who I have been missing for all my life. The painting has given me new life, and in return I have created dozens more. Leocadia has expressed some concerns about the manic energy that has infused me over these past few weeks, but I have paid her no mind. She has not seen the enlightenment.
She has not seen the enlightenment. That's an interesting line right there. I mean, I guess from his point of view, right, after not being able to paint for months because of being sick and then just having the, you know, creative block, I guess you could say, now all of a sudden he's painting free. He could see that as enlightenment, even if the paintings he's creating are of some kind of disturbing nature.
The painting has extended me an invitation from the hand of the ambassador itself. I am welcome to step foot into Alagadda at any time, but it requires a particular service of me first. It has directed me to go to France, to the residence of an artist by the name of Theodore Jericholt.
Interesting.
I need no other direction than my presence, as we are both fortunate enough to share a patron in the wearer of the anguished mark.
Oh.
A large number of pages have been torn out. The edges are encrusted over with unidentifiable black substance.
Yikes.
4 long years. 4 years of planning, and tedious gatherings and speeches and plotting. The work is not yet completed, of course, but Theodore has assured me that he will ensure our little movement spreads.
So it's like a cult of Alagadda or the Hang King or something like that has happened. With people making books, paintings, etc. You know, even writing the play, I guess. You know, the ambassador orchestrated these people at this time to come together, it seems, to write these various prominent people, writers, painters, etc. And have created all these works that potentially, I guess, are gateways into Alagadda.
To all corners of the globe. There is a certain spark in him, something that burns bright and warm like I imagined it did in me in my younger years. I have no doubt he will see it through. Now, through my last great painting, I shall return home to Alagadda. For ages, I felt paralyzed, trapped in an aging body as my life slowly ended. But now, I can see that it has barely begun. We, the living, only think of our lives as what we can experience, what we touch, what we say, every action we take before our time in the ground arrives. But the lives of artists stretch beyond that, to every being and power, and country shaped by our work. We live on through the minds of youths and kings and nobles for as long as our name endures. And through this work, I shall become immortal. I ask only one question to those who might find these words and reflect upon the movement that Theodore and I have birthed. Are we magnificent yet? This concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you're all dismissed.
Thank
Goodbye.
you, Dr. Miller. Okay. Very interesting. So it seems like at a particular point in time in history, this painter and potentially several other, they only really mentions Theodore, but I feel like there's probably a few more people here, were influenced essentially by the ambassador of Alagadda to create these works that seem to be entryways into the realm of Alagadda. You know, he created these paintings. I wonder what it is. I don't think they mentioned what Theodore did. If he's a painter or if he's the writer that created the play or what. But it's been mentioned in other SCP videos that there's, you know, statues, paintings, books that have been written at various times, plays, etc., etc. All of these have some kind of anomalous connection to Alagadda. It's interesting that, you know, I wonder what it is that happened to him where he got his initial connection to Alagadda. You know, was it like I said, was it a situation where where he was, you know, happened to be some kind of place where Alagadda used to exist, and so there was like a thin veil between dimensions or something, and because of his state of sickness, he began having visions of this and or was able to see through the veil to this other dimension. Was the sickness that he got initiated somehow by the ambassador from Alagadda? Did they make him sick in order to start this whole thing kind of a situation? Or was it just some like random happenstance because of the potential lead poisoning or whatever the sickness might have been, that he just kind of had these fever visions that he connected to? And because of maybe his, I guess, artist block, if you want to call it that, you know, maybe him kind of going mad because of his illness and not being able to create the paintings that he wants to do, the works of art that he's trying to create, especially after having such an illustrious career through history. You know, maybe that kind of madness allowed the ambassador to come in and attach itself to him, etc., etc. So yeah, interesting. It's interesting that there seem to have been multiple people at this specific time that got tasked to do things, and as he said at the end here, what did he say? Something about birthing. Yeah, reflect upon the movement that Theodore and I have birthed, and are we magnificent yet? So it's I wonder if it's also a situation where, you know, maybe these specific people again were prominent artists, just like this painter were in various other ways, playwrights, etc. And then their works fell out, but they still wanted to be famous, have their works, you know, pass throughout history or whatever, and so that allowed the ambassador to connect to them in some way, and then they made a pact essentially with the ambassador or the Hanged King, and essentially, like, yeah, their works will exist forever, but there are these dark, you know, anomalous works that are gateways to Alagadda, essentially. You know, I don't know, but very interesting, very interesting. I'm always down to learn more about, you know, Alagadda and the lore of the Hanged King. It's one of the more fascinating settings in SCPs, and I've said it, you know, a million times through it. It just, I love that whole kind of Bloodborne, eldritch horror, mystery, layers of reality upon layers of reality kind of, you know, lore and story. So this the Alagadda stuff's right up my alley. But that was SCP-5462. Misery is the state of every soul burdened by mortality. Euclid Alagadda SCP. Links will be down below in the description, as always, to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to Vulcan's channel. Please do me a favor, click those links. If you enjoyed this video of his, go over there and give it a like. And if you're not already subbed to the Vulcan and you've been enjoying his content, please do me a favor, go over there and give the man a sub. Definitely deserves it, and he makes a lot of great content on his channel. Puts a lot of effort into his videos with his voice acting, etc., etc. So please do me a favor, give the man some love. If you'd like to join us when I do these reactions live, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I offer. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know, and you want to take your support to the next level, take a look at those. So you can get early access videos, priority and any kind of requests you might have for reactions, you know, stuff like that. So do me a favor, check them out, see if you have any interest. But regardless of all that, thank you for watching. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving a like and a sub. That helps me and the channel grow. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.